Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're decoding an ancient Sanskrit text's stunning vision of how the universe was created.
Here's the plan. We'll start with a blueprint, then watch as the first being awakens and creation begins.
So, how do you describe a whole universe? This text uses 10 fundamental ideas. Let's check them out.
This framework covers everything, from the very beginning of creation to the very end. First up is sarga. Think of it as the creation of all the universe's raw ingredients.
Next is visarga. This is where those raw ingredients are actually assembled into, everything we see. And the end goal is Āśraya, the ultimate source of it all, what's left when everything is gone.
All right, so how does this actually happen? The story starts with a single cosmic being, the Purusha. And this being just rests for 1,000 celestial years in the very cosmic ocean that it created.
And then a single thought, the desire to become many. This one idea kicks everything off. That desire splits cosmic energy 3 ways, into the divine, the individual, and the physical stuff.
It's pretty cool. The universe forms just like a giant body. It starts with the simple desire to speak. Then, the desire to see creates eyes. And with eyes, you get the sun, the source of all light. The desire to hear, that brings forth ears, which are cosmically tied to space and direction itself. And what about the urge to do things? That's where hands come from, giving us the power to act.
And finally, the need to think and feel creates a heart, the home of the mind, connected to the moon. So from this one cosmic body, you get this explosion of life, all these different beings filling the universe. And all these beings, they're influenced by 3 basic forces, or modes of nature.
Now, this is a key point. The text says there are 2 versions of this cosmic form, one we can see and one we can't. But here's the twist. Both forms are products of Maya, a kind of divine illusion, not the ultimate reality.
So if all of this is an illusion, what's actually real? That's it for this explainer.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are looking at something really fascinating. It's a cosmic blueprint that's trying to do 2 things at once.
Right.
It's giving us this ultimate academic syllabus for all knowledge, but also a surprisingly detailed step-by-step guide to how the universal physical body is created.
And it is dense. This chapter shared by Sukha isn't just a story. It's laying out the actual framework for everything that follows.
The structural framework.
Exactly. It defines these 10 essential characteristics of reality, the daśa-lakṣaṇa. So our mission today is really to unpack these definitions and then follow this incredibly intricate process of how the cosmic person emerges and forms the world. Makes the abstract suddenly very physical.
Okay, so if we strip it all down, what's the core question we're trying to answer?
It's really about definition and expression. What are the 10 fundamental elements that define ultimate reality? And then how do they actually show up in our immediate physical sensory existence?
Let's start with that syllabus then, the 10 pillars of knowledge. This is in verses 1 through 7. The text says the great souls use their knowledge and realization to describe these clearly. So it feels like this list is the absolute foundation.
It really is. It's like the table of contents for the cosmos. And it starts with 2 creative acts. First, you have sarga.
From verse 3.
Yes, this is the primary creation, the initial birth of the gross elements, the senses, and intelligence, Buddha, Indriya, Dhyam. It all happens when the qualities of the absolute, the gufas, they sort of fall out of balance.
And right after that primary impulse, we get visarga.
The secondary creation. This is the ongoing process, usually done by someone like Brahma, who takes the raw material from sarga and, fashions the systems we actually see.
Okay.
Then we have sthāna, which is maintenance, and it's specifically identified as the victory of Vaikuta.
And this next one, ponam, is where the philosophical weight just seems to shift dramatically. It means nourishment, but the text defines it as His grace, anugraha. Why that shift? From a material act to an act of divine grace.
That's the key insight right there. It's saying that real sustenance isn't just, biological or physical. It is this continuous, intentional grace that allows existence to keep going. It completely reframes our idea of dependence.
Wow, okay.
Next is manvantara, the epochs, which represent the righteous duties, the sadharma, that are maintained across these huge spans of time.
Then itaya, which is impulses or tendencies. So this is basically karma, right? The subtle impressions left by our past actions.
Karma vasana, exactly. They dictate our future direction. Number 7 is īśānukathā, and this is the vital narrative piece. It's the stories of the Lord's incarnations and his followers. It's what makes the whole philosophy relatable.
And then we get to the end of the cycle with nirodha, dissolution.
Right, but it's not total destruction. It's more like the repose of the soul along with all its energies. Then 9 is mukti, liberation, finding your true form, letting go of the mistaken one.
And that brings us to the 10th, the one that ties it all together.
Āśraya,
Yeah.
the ultimate shelter. And the text is so explicit here. It says the first 9 definitions are just there to help us understand the single 10th principle, the Āśraya, which is called Parabrahman or Paramatma. Everything else is context. This is the destination.
Okay, so we have this grand syllabus, but how does this abstract reality, this Āśraya, connect to, me seeing a tree or hearing a sound right now? Which I guess brings us to the threefold perception in verses 8 and 9.
It does. This is the bridge. This section is the mechanism that links the absolute to the world we experience. The text describes 3 dimensions of being that are totally inseparable.
Right.
You have the spiritual being, the observer, who is the Hatmika Puro, then the presiding deity, the power that actually governs the perception, the Adhidayavika, and finally the material object itself, the Hivatatya.
And they're inseparable. So what's the danger in just, say, focusing on the material object and ignoring the other 2?
Well, the risk is a complete breakdown of reality. Verse 9 is very clear. If one is missing, the others are not perceived at all. Think of it like a photograph. The Adamika is the camera, the Adhidayavika is the light, and the Adhibhatika is the subject.
You need all 3 to get the picture.
You can't capture it otherwise. The text says the true soul, the Adama, is the one who gets this interdependence.
That makes the shift from philosophy to anatomy so much clearer. So let's dive into that, into the creation story, this whole process of the Purua unfolding that's detailed across verses 10 to 30.
So the story starts with the primal being, the Puro, breaking open the cosmic egg. He emerges, he's looking for a place to live, and to do that, he creates pure waters, a bus.
And that's the origin of the name Naraya, isn't it? He lives in those waters. He made for 1,000 years, and because the waters came from Himyadpat Purudhava, he gets the name Naraya.
Exactly. And right after that comes one of the most powerful lines in the entire chapter.
Verse 12.
Yes, it says everything. Substance, action, time, nature, and the soul. It all exists purely by his grace, anugraha. It's here because he wills it. And it stops existing upon his indifference, upikaya.
So that establishes this absolute dependence before anything else even really happened.
Non-negotiable dependence. And from there, the one Pruva, wanting to become many, wakes up from his meditative sleep, and by his energy, what we call Maya, he divides his own power into those 3 categories we just talked about.
The deity, the spiritual self, and the material object, the grand division.
It is. And that division immediately starts forming the universal body. It begins with the abstract energies. From the space inside the Puruva's body, you get power, endurance, and strength. And then the big one, the life force, the great breath, Pruva.
And this is like a cosmic synchronization because the text says all living beings breathe in and out by following the lead of that cosmic breath, like attendants following a human king.
It is the fundamental link. From stirring hunger and thirst, the mouth opens, the palate and tongue are created, and that allows for the perception of taste. The desire to speak gives rise to fire in speech. The desire to smell opens the nostrils, creating air and the sense of smell. I mean, the entire body is literally just an unfolding series of desires looking for expression.
So when the Puru wants to see the self, the eyes open, and that creates light and sight. When sages prompt him to want to grasp the self through knowledge, the ears open, creating the directions and hearing. It's a really logical progression for the senses of the head.
Then we move down to the organs of action, the desire to grasp the qualities of things. Soft, hard, light, heavy, that leads to the skin opening up.
Wait, here's that detail that just makes you stop. The text says hair grew on the skin, and it calls them Ramamahiru, or hair trees.
I know.
It's such a bizarre and evocative image, linking the microcosm of the body to the macrocosm of a forest.
That macrocosmic scale is always there. The desire for action makes the hands grow, which are linked to Indra and the act of exchange. The desire for motion grows the feet, which allows for movement, and this is important, for sacrifice, Yajna.
Then to the lower functions. The desire for bliss, Ananda, opens the generative organ. The desire to expel waste opens the anus. And each one is mapped to a specific deity and a specific purpose.
But look at verse 28, the description of the navel. Desiring to move out of the body or the city, Puri, the navel opens. It's linked to the downward breath, apana, and the consequence of separation, patakvam, which is also linked to death.
Wow. So the very center of life is also intrinsically linked to separation and mortality.
It's profound. The process then wraps up with digestion. Desiring food and drink, the stomach and intestines open, which results in satisfaction and nourishment.
And finally, the mind.
Finally, the mind. Desiring to contemplate its own energy, the heart opens, and from that comes the mind, manat, the moon, kandra, and the functions of intention and desire. And there it is, the body is fully mapped, from the cosmic breath to our innermost thoughts, all from a single desire to manifest.
It's an unbelievably intricate map, but now we have to zoom back out, because after describing this whole body, the text immediately throws this huge philosophical wrench in the works about the Lord having dual forms.
Right. First, it summarizes the physical parts we just went through. The 7 bodily elements come from the gross elements, the life breath comes from the subtle elements, and the mind is the self of all transformations. This whole structure, this is called the gross form.
But then it says there's also a subtle form, and this one is unmanifest, it has no attributes, it's beginningless, and it's completely beyond the reach of speech and mind. It's the ultimate paradox.
And here's the crucial silhouette. The text says that those who are truly wise, the Vipassita, they reject both forms.
Both the gross and the subtle.
Both. They see them as creations of Maya. And Maya isn't just an illusion, it's the divine energy that creates the illusion of form and of multiplicity. The Supreme Lord, who is fundamentally actionless, only seems to take on names and forms through the act of us speaking about him.
So the wise understand that calling him the creator or describing his form, that's just a conceptual trick we have to use, one imposed by Maya, so we can even discuss something that's fundamentally beyond any action.
That's it exactly.
Okay, so after establishing that philosophical high ground, the chapter then pivots back and lists this dizzying diversity of life that's been created. Prajapatis, devas, asuras, nagas, animals, trees, everything.
And that brings us right back to the mechanism of destiny from verse 41. The 3 modes, sattva, rajas, and tamas, they determine the 3 main categories of existence: celestial, human, and infernal. But what's really fascinating is the detail that within each of those categories, the path divides threefold again, based on which mode is dominant.
And that's the source of the incredible variation we see.
It's the source of the mind-boggling infinite variation, yeah? It explains why even among humans, destinies can be so profoundly different. The whole cycle is maintained because the Lord, as the sustainer, supports the universe through all these forms.
And then, when the time comes,
Then he assumes the terrifying form of Kalagni-Rudra, Time Fire Rudra, and withdraws everything he created. The imagery is beautiful, actually. It says, he collects and disperses it all, just as wind gathers and scatters clouds.
So the blueprint includes meticulous construction and just effortless dismantling.
Yes.
And through all this incredible detail, the text never loses sight of the ultimate philosophical point. We've spent this whole time describing him in this manner, but the sages know he can't actually be understood at Bhagavata in this manner.
The description is a guide for the intellect, not a definition of the thing itself. The very act of attributing creation to him is a device of Maya, to help us negate the idea that he is the true doer of any of these worldly acts. He's always Parak, the transcendent one.
The text then sets the stage for what's next, naming this creation the Sivakalpa Kalpa, the Kalpa, with divisions, and promises to explain the calculation of time next.
And that promise is the signal. It shifts the focus to a much more personal narrative thread that closes out the chapter. The original listeners, led by Sanaka, turn their attention from this huge cosmic blueprint to one specific person.
They asked Sutta about Vidura, the great devotee, who left his family and traveled to all the holy places.
Yeah, they want the human story now. What was the conversation between Vidura and Maitreya? What did the Lord tell him? Why did he leave his family and why did he come back? It's setting the stage to go from universal creation to individual enlightenment.
And Sutta promises to tell them exactly what the great sage told Parīkṣit. So we've gone from the structure of the cosmic body to the promise of a very human personal journey that is going to use that structure to find meaning.
What a monumental deep dive. We started with 10 philosophical definitions. We navigated the subtle interdependence of that threefold perception, and then we explored this stunningly detailed anatomical roadmap of the cosmic body.
We looked at the gross and subtle forms, the path of destiny governed by the modes. But despite all of that complexity, the ultimate refuge, the ujjal, is singular. Pala Brahman, Paramatma.
So given this enormous complex mechanism of the material body and the infinitely detailed diversity of destinies it creates, here's a final provocation for you to consider. What stands out as the most surprising, or maybe the most minute detail, perhaps it's the hair trees or the navel being linked to separation, that anchors this vast, ever-changing creation back to that single, unchanging shelter, the Isha. Something to mull over until our next deep dive.
Have you ever wondered if there's a single theory that could explain, well, everything? Today, we're diving into an ancient text, the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, that does something incredible. It lays out a 10-point cosmic blueprint, a surprisingly systematic guide to the nature of reality and consciousness itself. I mean, think about it. It's the biggest question you can possibly ask, right? From the tiniest subatomic particle to the most distant galaxy, from the first spark of creation to the very nature of your own thoughts. How on earth do you even begin to build a single model that can hold all of that? Well, thousands of years ago, the thinkers behind this text took a serious crack at it. But instead of some dense, complicated equation, they came up with this elegant 10-subject blueprint. It's like a roadmap designed to walk you from the physical world you can see and touch, all the way back to the ultimate source behind it all.
So let's get into it. The entire body of knowledge here is broken down into 10 very specific categories. You can think of them as the 10 essential chapters in the grand story of reality.
And here they are. Now, don't worry about memorizing all these names right now, sarga, visarga, sthāna, all the way down to Āśraya. Just know that these 10 ideas are meant to cover the whole shebang: cosmic creation, how it's all maintained, how it ends, and even liberation. But there's a really fascinating twist in how this whole thing is structured.
And this, right here, is the key that unlocks the entire system. The text flat out tells us that the only reason for explaining the first 9 topics is to get our minds ready to understand the 10th one. So this isn't just a list, it's a carefully structured journey with a very, very specific destination. So, okay, let's start that journey and see how this blueprint builds on itself. We begin with the first 2 subjects, sarga and visarga, which together describe a 2-stage process for how everything comes into being. Think of it like baking a cake. Sarga is the primary creation. This is you getting all the raw ingredients together, the flour, the eggs, the sugar. In cosmic terms, it's the creation of the fundamental elements, the potential for our senses, the mind itself. Then you have visarga, the secondary creation. This is when the master chef, a cosmic engineer named Brahma, actually takes all those ingredients and bakes the cake, creating all the specific complex forms we see around us in the universe. Now we get to one of the most powerful, kind of poetic ideas in this whole model. How do those raw ingredients actually become a universe? The answer is presented as a sort of cosmic anatomy lesson. It's pretty wild. The core idea here is that the universe, with all of its forces and senses, emerged from the spiritual body of a single, primordial, cosmic being called the Purusha. And from this one being, a whole chain reaction of creation just unfolds. First, this cosmic being desires to speak. So a mouth appears, and from that cosmic mouth comes the element of fire, and with it, the very power of speech. You see the pattern here? A desire leads to a body part, which is connected to a natural element and a specific ability, all born in the exact same moment. Next up, a desire to see. To make that happen, eyes manifest, and from those cosmic eyes emerges their natural counterpart, the sun, the source of all light, and of course, the power of sight. Again, you see how consciousness, form, a cosmic force, and function are all completely inseparable. Then, the desire to feel, to experience texture, temperature. This leads to the formation of skin. And from that skin came the element of air, the very medium of touch, along with the sense itself. It's just this beautiful, elegant way of showing how deeply interconnected everything is in this model. But what about our inner world? Our thoughts and feelings? For that, the focal point was the cosmic heart. And from its deep contemplation, the mind itself was born, giving rise to thought, feeling, and desire. So in this view, even our most abstract internal reality has a physical source within this one grand, unified being. So, okay, the universe is created. It's here. But how does it all run? What are the principles that govern its existence? from one moment to the next and across vast cosmic ages. Well, that's what the next set of subjects is all about, the rhythms of reality.
Let's break these down. First, you have sthāna, or maintenance. Think of this as the force that keeps the planets in their orbits and everything in its proper place. Next is poṣaṇa, which is this beautiful idea of nurturing or divine grace that protects and sustains all life. Then we have udayaha, the driving force of karma, the law of cause and effect, fueled by our desires that keeps the whole show running. And finally, you get the two great bookends of the cycle. Nirodha, the dissolution when the universe folds back in on itself, and mukti, which is ultimate liberation, breaking free from that material cycle entirely.
We've now walked through creation, cosmic anatomy, and the laws of existence, basically the first 9 subjects. But remember that key we were given right at the start? All of it is just the setup. It's the opening act for the 10th and final subject.
And here it is, Āśraya. The word means the ultimate shelter, or the fundamental source. This is the destination of our whole journey. It is the ground of all being. It's the reality from which the other 9 subjects emerge, and the reality to which they all eventually return.
And this really gets to the core of it. The first 9 subjects, they describe the gross or manifest universe. Everything we can see, touch, measure, and talk about. It's the plot, the characters, and the scenery of the great cosmic movie. But the Āśraya, that's the subtle reality. It's the unmanifest source. It's the silent, eternal screen that the whole movie is being played on.
To put it as simply as possible, the first 9 points are a detailed description of the painting. The 10th point is the canvas, the painter, and the paint itself. It's the source of everything and the substance of everything. And that leaves us with a pretty profound final thought. This ancient blueprint isn't just an abstract theory. It's a framework that puts consciousness at the absolute center of reality. It suggests the universe isn't some dead, empty machine we just happen to live in, but that it's a single, conscious living being. So the real question it leaves us with is this: how does our perspective change if we stop seeing ourselves as just tiny observers in the universe and start realizing we are conscious, integral parts of it?